I can't believe she said that. And then just sat there like it was nothing. That's the thought that kept looping in my head that night, the night she told me she needed a break. We were sitting in the car, parked outside her apartment. The streetlights were stretching through the windshield like long yellow ribbons, making everything feel too quiet. She turned to me, voice calm, almost detached. I think I need some time to figure myself out. No contact for a while. No calls. No texts. Just space. I didn't say anything at first. Maybe because, at some level, I thought that's something every couple goes through. A small break, a breather. But the way she said it, so measured, so emotionless, it didn't feel like a pause. It felt like a decision. I finally asked, "You're serious?" No contact at all. She nodded. Didn't even look at me. "Yeah, I just need time." And that was it. She opened the door, got out, and walked toward her building without turning back. I sat there in the car for a while, hands still gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what just happened. Her words echoed, not in anger, not in pain, but in this slow, deliberate rhythm that cut deep. I need time to figure myself out. People always say a break is just a polite way to say it's over. But she wasn't the type to play games. She was always clear, direct, rational. So I convinced myself there had to be a reason, something genuine. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she really did need to breathe. The drive home was a blur. Red lights, green lights, didn't matter. The city moved around me, and I didn't single quote. The next week, I did what she asked. No calls, no texts, nothing. I threw myself into work, tried to stay busy. But every morning, when I made coffee, I thought of her. Every night, when I walked into the apartment and turned on the lights, I'd half expect to see her sitting on the couch, reading like she always did. Everything felt the same, except it wasn't. It was quieter, heavier. Her voice lingered in my head. I need to find myself. And I started wondering, what does that even mean? Did I make her lose herself? Or was she just done, but didn't know how to say it? By the 8th day, I broke the silence. Not to text her, just scrolling my phone out of habit. And that's when I saw it. Her mum had posted a photo on Facebook. Family lunch, nice restaurant, bright smiles. The caption read, "Lovely weekend with my girl." Nothing strange at first, until I saw the tags. Her name was there, and when I tapped on it, she was online. Green dot, active now. No disconnecting from everything. No finding herself. She wasn't gone. She just disappeared from me. I stared at that screen for a long time. Then I laughed, this short, hollow laugh that didn't sound like me, because it wasn't funny. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when something finally clicks, when the truth stands there naked and you can't unsee it. She said no contact, but she was fine, smiling, out with family, commenting on friends' posts. She didn't need space. She needed distance from me. That night, I didn't call her, didn't text, didn't ask for an explanation. I opened my contacts, hovered over her name, and locked the screen, because maybe that was the point. Maybe she wanted me to realize it on my own, that the relationship was over. Long before she said she needed space, and in that silence, I understood something cruelly simple. In her story, she'd already moved on, and in mine, I was just now catching up. The thing about silence is that it doesn't stay empty for long. After that 8th day, after I saw her online, the quiet stopped being peaceful. It started feeling like static, like something humming underneath my skin. I didn't reach out. I kept my word, but my mind didn't. It went places I didn't want it to go. Who was she texting? Where was she going? Did she ever actually plan to come back? At work, I caught myself staring at my phone more often than usual. I'd tell myself it was just habit, muscle memory. But deep down, I was waiting for her to realize that she missed me, or at least missed what we had. That message never came. 2 weeks passed. The no-contact rule started to feel less like her way of finding herself and more like a test. A quiet, cruel experiment to see how far she could push before I broke first. But here's the thing, I didn't break. I just got colder. I started noticing little details that didn't add up. Like the fact that her best friend, who used to post about her all the time, suddenly stopped. Or that her Instagram stories were no longer visible to me, even though I hadn't unfollowed her. It didn't take long to figure it out. She'd hidden them, blocked me from seeing certain things, probably thinking I wouldn't notice. And that's when something inside me shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak, something quieter, sharper. It's the moment when pain calcifies into clarity. That night, I opened my laptop and typed her name into a private browser. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed to see the truth laid bare. Within seconds, there it was, a tagged post from one of her co-workers. A night out, drinks, music, her in a dress I'd never seen before, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. Her arm was around someone, not intimate, but familiar enough. The kind of proximity that says, this isn't new. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she was just trying to live her life. But then I remembered the way she said no contact, how deliberate it sounded, how rehearsed. No, this wasn't about space. It was about replacement. The irony is, she could have just told me. She could have said, I'm done, and I would have walked away. Dignity intact, respect intact. But she chose this slow fade, this strategic disappearance that left me questioning every word, every memory, every quiet evening we ever shared. And that's what hurt the most. Not that she was with someone else, but that she made me the fool in her process of letting go. I didn't sleep much that night. I didn't cry either. I just stared at the ceiling and replayed our last few weeks together, looking for the moment when she mentally checked out. It must have been gradual, the missed calls, the late replies, the sighs between sentences. I just didn't see it then. I didn't want to, but now it was crystal clear. She wasn't trying to find herself. She was trying to rewrite herself without me in the picture. By morning, I'd stopped checking her profiles. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally did. For myself, I realized that every time I looked her up, I gave her control over how I felt. And she didn't deserve that anymore. So I did what she probably never expected. Nothing. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched TV. I lived quietly, methodically, almost mechanically. And for the first time since she left, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like practice. Practice for a life where she wasn't there still. Late at night, I'd catch myself wondering one thing: if she ever looked back. If, in the middle of her new freedom, she ever felt the ghost of what she'd left behind. But I knew better than to expect an answer. Because people like her don't look back. They just keep moving forward. smiling, pretending they were never the villain in anyone's story. And I was fine letting her think that, because one day soon she'd realize silence cuts both ways. After that night, I tried to stay calm. I told myself maybe she was just confused. Maybe she really did need time to figure things out. Even though my chest felt heavy, I respected what she asked for. No texts, no calls, no attempts to reach out. I wanted to give her the space she said she needed. But as the days went by, something started to feel off. She began posting again on social media. Pictures of her grabbing coffee, hiking with friends, laughing at dinners, always smiling, always radiant. The same face I loved, the same eyes that used to calm me. The only difference was that now I wasn't in the picture, literally or metaphorically. I told myself not to be jealous. At least, I tried. But the truth is, I felt lost. One night, while scrolling, I came across a post from her mum, a photo of them at some fancy restaurant. The caption read, "Mother-daughter, dinner with someone special tonight. Someone special who? A friend or someone new?" My stomach dropped. I stared at that screen for what felt like forever. She didn't look like someone who needed time to figure herself out. She looked happy, relaxed, completely fine without me. I texted her just 5 words. "Are you doing okay?" The message sent. No read receipt. No reply. A few hours later, she posted a story. "Sometimes walking away is the only peace." I sat in the dark, staring at those words glowing on my screen. Was that meant for me? Was she trying to say something, or just performing for the world, showing everyone how strong she was now? I didn't know. All I knew was that it hurt. It's kind of funny, in a cruel way. The person who said she needed time to find herself seemed to have found peace the moment I disappeared. Days turned into weeks, and I started questioning everything. Did I do something wrong? Was I too much? Too available? Too serious? Or was I just a placeholder? Someone to hold her over until she found something more exciting? I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. Her smile, her eyes, the way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when she laughed. The little domestic things, our late-night movie marathons, arguing over what to order, falling asleep on the couch. All of it haunted me like a life I'd lost. And yet, I couldn't bring myself to block her. Couldn't delete the photos. Couldn't even take down the engaged status. I knew how pathetic that sounded, but part of me still hoped she'd come back. That maybe this was all temporary. That one morning I'd wake up and see her name on my phone again, "I miss you." But deep down, I knew the truth. Her silence wasn't hesitation. It was an answer. A clear, cold, devastating answer. After a few weeks, I tried to get back to normal life, though, in reality, nothing felt normal anymore. Every morning, I still woke up on time, made coffee, went to work, and pretended I was fine. But the truth was, everything reminded me of her. The smell of the coffee, the song she used to hum while making breakfast, even the empty chair across from mine at the table. The silence in that chair was louder than any argument we ever had. I started to realize that when someone leaves you without an explanation, they don't just leave a void, they leave a crack in the way you see the world. It's like your entire sense of trust gets fractured. I stopped believing in honesty. I stopped believing in promises. I even stopped believing in the version of myself that once thought love could fix anything. Then one day, I ran into a mutual friend at a small gathering. It wasn't planned. I almost didn't go. But something told me I needed to step outside my apartment just once. We ended up sitting at the same table, both of us dancing around the topic until she leaned closer and said quietly, almost guiltily, I heard she's seeing someone. Someone her mum introduced her to. I didn't react. I didn't even blink. It was as if my mind had been preparing for that sentence all along. I wasn't shocked. And strangely, I didn't feel as much pain as I expected. Maybe because deep down I already knew. Sometimes the heart figures out the truth long before the mind is ready to accept it. That night, I went home and opened our old messages. Hundreds of lines filled with love. We'll get through anything. You're the only one I trust forever. No matter what happens. All those words that once felt sacred now just stared back at me, hollow and meaningless. The memories weren't sweet anymore. They were heavy, almost suffocating. I sat there for a long time, scrolling, hesitating, and then finally, I deleted everything. Not because I hated her. I couldn't. But because I needed to stop living inside the ghost of what we used to be. I needed to save myself from drowning in what-ifs. A few days later, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed. It was her, the first message in months. Just wanted to know if you're doing okay. My hands went cold. I stared at that text for what felt like forever. My heart started racing. Memories crashing into me all at once. The laughter, the arguments, the good mornings, the long silences before sleep. But a small, fragile piece of reason still held me together. Why now? Why, after all this time, when everything had already fallen apart? I typed something. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted that too. I didn't want to sound bitter, but I also didn't want to sound like I'd been waiting. Finally, I just wrote, I'm okay. How about you? A minute passed. Then 2, then 5, and then her reply appeared. I miss you, just 3 words, but they froze me. My chest tightened. My mind went completely blank. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen, wondering, was this real? Was it regret, love, or just guilt wrapped in nostalgia? Because sometimes people don't miss you. They just miss the version of themselves they were when they had you, and that thought hurt more than the silence ever did. I didn't reply right away. Those 3 words, I miss you, echoed in my head, sounding both familiar and foreign. Part of me wanted to throw my phone across the room, because I knew exactly what would happen if I responded. Everything I had spent weeks rebuilding, every wall, every fragile layer of healing would collapse the moment I said a single word. Back, but the other part of me, the weaker, more hopeful part, wanted to believe she truly meant it. That maybe, just maybe, she regretted everything and wanted to make things right. I sat there for a long time, watching the screen light up and fade again. Her message just sat there, silent, simple, and heavier than any apology she could have written. Finally, I typed, I used to miss you, too, but that doesn't matter anymore. I didn't mean it to sound cold. I was just being honest. I wasn't the same man who stayed up at night waiting for a message that never came. I had already spent too many nights staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that silence was a form of closure. I'd learned the hard way. The only person who can save you is yourself. She read the message almost immediately. Then nothing, no reply, no explanation. And oddly, I felt relief. At least this time, I wasn't being dragged back into the same loop of false hope. A few days passed, and then another message. Can we meet? I just want to talk. I hesitated. One meeting. It sounded harmless, but I'd been through enough to know that nothing about this kind of situation is ever harmless. Still, I agreed. Maybe I needed to see her one last time, not for closure, but to make peace with myself. We met at a small coffee shop we used to go to. She was late 10 minutes. When she walked in, she looked almost the same. Same hair, same eyes, but something was different. Maybe it was exhaustion or guilt. She sat down across from me, smiled weakly, and said, I know I hurt you, but back then, I really didn't know what I wanted. I didn't interrupt. I didn't ask questions. Maybe that's what she expected, for me to beg for an explanation or try to understand her side. But there was nothing left to understand. I just said, I get it. We all have the right not to know what we want, but that doesn't give us the right to use someone else to find out. She looked down, eyes glistening, her fingers trembling slightly around the cup. I didn't feel angry anymore. Not even sad. Just ... Done. I stood up, placed a few bills on the table, and said quietly, take care of yourself. Then I walked out. She didn't call after me, didn't text again, and for the first time in months, the silence felt different. It didn't hurt. It was clean, final. As I stepped outside, the cold wind brushed against my face, but my chest felt light. Maybe, after all this time, I hadn't been abandoned. I had been freed. After that night, it was like someone had cut the cord between us with a clean, silent knife. No apology. No message. No, I hope you're doing okay. Just silence. The kind that fills a room, heavy and stale, until you can almost hear it pressing against your chest. I didn't know where she was, and I didn't ask. I didn't want to. It's strange how life just keeps moving forward even when something inside you has completely stopped. You still wake up, eat, breathe. The world doesn't care that your heart broke. It just keeps spinning. Every morning, I still picked up my phone. Not to check if she texted. I already knew she wouldn't. But just to remind myself that I was still here. That I still existed. It's funny. The pain doesn't stay sharp forever. It dulls like an old scar that still aches when it rains. Some nights, I'd think about what I'd say if she ever came back. The truth. Probably nothing. There's nothing left to say when you finally realize the person standing in front of you isn't the same one who once held your hand like it meant something. Then one day, her mum tagged her in a photo on Facebook. A beach trip. She looked happy, free, standing next to some guy I'd never seen before. Her hand was on his shoulder, her smile wide and easy, like I never even existed. I stared at that picture for a long time. No anger, no jealousy, just this strange emptiness, like I was watching a movie I used to star in, but now I'm just some random extra in the background. That was the moment I finally understood, when she said she needed a break to find herself. What she really meant was, I need a way out that doesn't make me the bad guy. And I made it easy for her. I thought silence meant respect, but really, silence just meant she could walk away without looking back. So I started deleting everything. Texts, photos, the playlist we used to listen to when driving through the suburbs at night. Each delete hurt a little, but also made me lighter. It wasn't about forgetting her. It was about refusing to keep living inside a story that ended months ago. Sometimes, growing up isn't about forgiving someone who hurt you. It's about having the guts to finally stop pretending there's something left to save. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't even want closure. I just wanted peace, the kind that doesn't come from answers, but from finally not needing them. That night, I dreamed about her. She was standing in a crowd, her back to me. I tried calling her name, but my voice didn't come out. She turned, smiled, that same soft, almost apologetic smile, and then faded away like smoke. When I woke up, the sun hadn't risen yet. The streetlight outside painted pale streaks across my wall. I sat there for a while, just breathing, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel heavy. It wasn't freedom because she was gone. It was freedom because I finally stopped chasing someone who was always running away. As time went on, I realized not every relationship ends with a dramatic explosion. Sometimes there's no screaming, no tears, no final goodbye. It just fades quietly, almost politely, like the last light of day, slipping behind the horizon when no one's watching. At first, I thought the silence was temporary. I told myself she just needed space, that maybe she'd come back once she found herself. But as the weeks turned into months, I began to understand silence is an answer. And often, it's the clearest one you'll ever get. She used to be the first thing I thought of every morning. Now, she's just a faint outline, a blur in my memory, like a photograph left too long in the sun. I can't quite remember her voice anymore, or the exact curve of her smile. And it's strange, almost haunting, how something that once felt so permanent can vanish without leaving a trace, as if it never truly belonged to you in the first place. There was a time when I stayed awake at night, replaying everything. Every word, every moment, every tiny detail, looking for clues, for reasons, for something that could explain why love can evaporate so quietly. What I didn't do, what I could have done differently. But one morning, while I was making coffee, I caught my reflection in the window and realized some questions don't deserve answers. Some endings aren't meant to be understood. She left because she wanted to. Not because I wasn't good enough, not because I failed, but simply because I no longer fit the version of her life she was creating. And in a way, that realization, painful as it was, became its own kind of freedom. So, I started living again. Slowly, quietly. I woke up earlier, walked around the neighborhood before sunrise, watched the world wake up before it got too noisy. I listened to music again, not the kind that reminded me of her, but the kind that made me feel alive. I started cooking for myself, cleaning my place, even talking to neighbors I used to ignore. Little by little, life stopped feeling like something I had to survive, and started feeling like something I could live. I realized that in love, people often fear loneliness so much that they lose themselves trying to hold on to something that's already gone. I had done that, clung to memories, to maybes, to a ghost of what used to be. But when I finally let go, when I allowed myself to stand alone, I found a strength I never knew I had. Maybe she's somewhere else now, living a different kind of happiness. Maybe she thinks of me sometimes when she hears a certain song or passes a familiar place. Or maybe I'm just a distant echo, a story she once told herself. I'll never know. And for the first time, I don't need to. If she ever remembers me, I just hope she remembers that I cared, genuinely, deeply, without condition. That I loved her in the only way I knew how. As for me, I'll remember her as a chapter that taught me how to grow up, how to let go, and how to love without losing myself. I don't look for someone to fill the emptiness she left behind anymore. I let it exist, because that emptiness, that quiet space inside me, it's part of who I am now. It reminds me that I once felt something real and that I survived it. Not all loss is bad. Sometimes it clears the fog so you can finally see what truly matters. Now, when I stand on my balcony and watch the sunset spill across the buildings, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the kind that comes from forgetting, but the kind that comes from acceptance. There's no anger, no regret, no need for closure. Just stillness, the kind that only arrives after you've made peace with the truth that loving someone doesn't always mean keeping them. And maybe that's the quiet beauty of it all. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away and never look back.